it's at a point where like something can be about me, like my name can be in the actual headline and it can still be none of my business.
Taylor Swift subpoenaed in the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively lawsuit. The superstar's legal team issuing a blistering response.
A judge ruled Baldoni can obtain messages between Lively and pop superstar Taylor Swift that pertain to the ongoing legal case.
Can confirm Taylor Swift is no longer being subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni's legal team.
My business is making music and taking care of my fans. Everything else, I'm just sort of like, it's not my business. I have actual business that I need to run.
Taylor Swift didn't have to call anyone out by name, but fans are convinced she just shaded Blake Lively on national podcast airwaves. During her rare sit-down on the New Heights podcast, Taylor dropped bombshells about her next album, and one tiny detail has spiraled into a storm of speculation. A new track titled Ruin the Friendship has people asking if she was taking aim at one of her longest, closest Hollywood connections. And if the rumors are true, Blake Lively didn't take it well. So how did a single podcast episode turn into a debate about loyalty, betrayal, and one of the most high-profile friendships in pop culture? Let's start with the night Taylor's appearance nearly broke the internet. When Taylor Swift showed up on New Heights, nobody saw it coming. She's famously private, rarely giving interviews, so hearing her open up on Travis Kelce's podcast felt like a once-in-a-lifetime event for fans. Within hours, millions had tuned in, and the stream was so overloaded that the show's account had to tweet, "We hit a glitch, but we'll be back shortly." It wasn't just a conversation, it was a cultural event, and Taylor knew exactly what she was doing. That night, she revealed her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, set for release October 3rd. Swifties instantly began combing through the track list, searching for Easter eggs and hidden meanings. Right away, two titles stood out. Track 6, Ruin the Friendship, and Track 10, Cancelled. Fans couldn't ignore the timing. Only a few months earlier, at the final night of her record-breaking Eras tour, Taylor stepped off stage through a single orange door, a moment so deliberate that people instantly knew it was a hint at her next chapter. Sure enough, when she revealed the album, the entire theme was drenched in orange. She even explained why. This era was about what happened off stage, the drama, the late-night thoughts, and the private struggles that never made it under the spotlight. But out of everything she shared, it was Track 6, Ruin the Friendship, that had Swifties buzzing. Because if that's not a direct wink at the rumors swirling around her and Blake Lively, then what is? But here's where the story really heats up, because the timing of the music and the friendship drama doesn't quite line up. As soon as the track list dropped, fan forums exploded. The phrase "ruin the friendship" felt way too on the nose to ignore. After all, Taylor and Blake had one of the tightest celebrity friendships in Hollywood. Blake directed Taylor's video for I Bet You Think About Me. Taylor used Blake and Ryan Reynolds' daughter James's voice in her hit Gorgeous. For years, they were seen as family-level close. So when reports surfaced in 2025 that the two women are currently not speaking, Swifties immediately tied the dots. Rumors spread that Ruin the Friendship was Taylor's subtle dig, a musical way of closing the door on a relationship that had once seemed unbreakable. But here's the catch. According to production details, much of Taylor's new album was written and recorded in mid-2024 while she was touring Europe. That was months before the most explosive headlines about Blake's legal battle with Justin Baldoni hit the press. If that's true, then the song couldn't be a direct reaction to those events. It might not be about Blake at all, or at least not about the public feud fans are thinking of. Some fans even threw out other names. Karlie Kloss came up again, since her on and off friendship with Taylor has fueled speculation for years. Others suggested it might be about an entirely different situation. But none of those theories carried as much weight as Blake, because her history with Taylor is just too deep, too public, and too emotional for people to ignore. And that's exactly why the speculation spiraled so quickly. Even if the timelines don't fully match, the perception of a fallout was already in the air. A track title like that, it felt like confirmation. But the rumors didn't stop with the music. What happened next pulled Taylor directly into a messy legal storm, one that would drag her name through headlines she wanted no part of. And what happened inside that courtroom made the friendship theories even messier. The friendship drama didn't stay in fan theories for long. It spilled into a courtroom. By the end of 2024, Blake Lively was at the center of a very public fight with Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director on the movie It Ends With Us. She filed complaints about the set, accusing him of creating a toxic environment. Baldoni hit back with a massive countersuit, throwing serious allegations in her direction. And somehow, Taylor Swift's name got dragged into the mess. In May 2025, Baldoni's legal team tried to subpoena Taylor, claiming she was connected to behind-the-scenes disputes over the movie script. But Taylor's team fired back immediately. They explained that her only involvement was licensing her song My Tears Ricochet for the soundtrack. just like nearly 20 other artists had done. She wasn't part of the creative team, wasn't on set, and had no role in the conflict. Then came the bombshell. A filing suggested that Blake's lawyer had allegedly threatened to release private text messages with Taylor unless Taylor publicly supported Blake. That claim set the internet on fire, but in court it didn't last long. The judge ruled that the allegation was improper and irrelevant, striking it from the record. Still, the headlines had already done their damage. By the time the subpoena was withdrawn, Taylor had been dragged into weeks of negative press she never asked for, and fans couldn't help but notice when Taylor later dropped a song title like Ruin the Friendship, it felt less like coincidence and more like a quiet clapback. But the real spark came from Taylor's own words during the podcast. One comment in particular had Swifties convinced she was throwing shade. In the middle of the New Heights conversation, Taylor dropped a line that instantly became a headline. She said, "My name can be in the actual headline, and it's still none of my business." Fans couldn't ignore the timing. Just months earlier, her name had been dragged into articles about Blake's fight with Baldoni, even though she wasn't involved. To listeners, this sounded like Taylor was drawing a line in the sand, telling the world she wouldn't let someone else's drama become hers. She doubled down too, saying she avoids reading online comments and doesn't waste time engaging with negativity. Instead, she stays focused on her work. On its own, those statements sound like classic Taylor, setting boundaries, keeping her private life private. But paired with the album reveal, the orange symbolism, and that track list, fans read it as more than just generic wisdom. They saw it as Taylor subtly shading her once close friend. Whether or not it was intentional, the internet decided it was a message. And if reports are true, Blake wasn't exactly calm about it. For years, Taylor and Blake were one of Hollywood's favorite duos. Blake directed her music video. Their kids' voices were featured on Taylor's songs. They spent holidays together and supported each other's projects like family. That's why the idea of a falling out felt so shocking to fans. But in 2025, multiple outlets reported that the two women were no longer speaking. Sources claimed they had tried to reconnect after the subpoena drama, but it didn't stick. The legal mess had created too much distance. Suddenly, a friendship that once looked unbreakable was on pause, if not over entirely. And that's where the speculation sits today. On one hand, Taylor's album could have been finished before the drama even peaked, making the song title just an eerie coincidence. On the other hand, Taylor is a master of storytelling, and her music often contains subtle references and layered meanings. Fans are convinced Ruin the Friendship is more than just a random phrase. For now, all we know is this: the perception of a feud is alive and well, and Taylor's decision to talk about boundaries and ignoring headlines only added fuel to the fire. Whether intentional or not, the shade was felt. So now we're left with a puzzle. Taylor makes her rare podcast appearance, confirms an album built around her offstage life, and casually drops a track called Ruin the Friendship. At the same time, Blake Lively is caught in a storm of lawsuits, headlines, and rumors, while Taylor herself is pulled in by subpoenas and speculation she never asked for. Add in that one podcast quote about headlines being none of her business, and it's no wonder fans saw it as a jab. The timeline tells us one story. Taylor likely wrote these songs months before the loudest drama even hit, but the perception tells us another story entirely, that she may have used this album as her way of quietly addressing a friendship that changed. And if you followed Taylor for any length of time, you know that perception often matters just as much as fact when it comes to her music. And that's where things get interesting. Taylor is the master of double meanings. She's built her career on lyrics that can be read in more than one way, giving fans room to decode, speculate, and argue for months on end. Ruin the Friendship might not be about Blake at all, or it could be about Blake, but not in the way people think. It could even be a red herring, designed to get us talking while the real story hides in plain sight. That's why I want to hear from you. Do you think this was shade? Was Ruin the Friendship a message aimed at Blake Lively? Or are fans just connecting dots because the timing looks messy? And how do you read that podcast moment? Was it a subtle boundary-setting statement or a calculated comment aimed at an old friend? Drop your thoughts down below because honestly, this might be one of Taylor's most layered mysteries yet. And the wild part is, we still don't have the lyrics. On October 3rd, when The Life of a Showgirl finally drops, we might get answers, or we might just end up with even more questions.